We all didn't expect this, of course, but I feel like with God, anything possible, everything possible. I don't feel like this happened, for no reason. All this is of course, fuel to the fire. And under no circumstance, we all know this shouldn't have happened. But we understand we're on the bigger and better things. Tomorrow's the day. We're going to be happy regardless. Legendary.
The first round of the NFL draft has came and went. And Shedeur Sanders from Colorado, Deion Sanders' son, he is still available. His teammate Travis Hunter went early. The Jacksonville Jaguars traded up in the draft to snag Travis Hunter. They traded with the Browns. Browns moved back to 5. And 2 other quarterbacks were taken in the first round. One was Cam Ward, who we all knew this entire season was pretty much the front runner for #1 QB going off the board. And then also Mississippi's Jackson Dart went to the New York Giants. No Shedeur Sanders. I mean, he's going to be at the very earliest a second round pick. I think he for sure goes in the second round, probably to one of these teams 1 through 5, 1 through 6 or 7-ish. I think a team may even trade up to snag Shedeur Sanders. It makes a lot of sense for the Steelers to maybe even try to trade up to snag him. And me, as a fan of the Denver Broncos, I would like to have Shedeur Sanders on the team. He can stay in the state, but we already drafted Bo Nix last year, so that's what it is. So anyways, some people are crying racism. Is this racism? That's the fact that Shedeur Sanders did not get drafted in the first round. A lot of people felt he was a first round talent. A lot of people felt that he wasn't. A lot of people felt that he was a top 5 talent. He should have gone with one of these top 5 picks. And a lot of people, including myself, felt like he was not top 5 talent, but maybe he could have gone later in the first round. But is it racism? Now, I can't call it racism, but I do think race plays a role, and let me explain. I can't call it racism because the #1 overall pick was Cam Ward. Cam Ward, like Shedeur Sanders, is a quarterback, and he's black. So I don't think it's straight up racism, but I do think race plays a part, right? There weren't a lot of teams that really needed a quarterback, especially when you got into like the meat of the first round, when you get to like Atlanta, Arizona, Cincy, Tampa, Denver. Steelers could have took Shedeur Sanders. I think that's still on the table also. But a lot of teams either already drafted a quarterback or they already have a quarterback. But I think the Browns could have drafted Shedeur Sanders. I think that would have made sense. I think the Giants would have made sense. And I think the Steelers would have made sense. And obviously the Giants, they ended up going and selecting Jackson Dart, traded up for him. But is it racism? I think race plays a part, but I don't think it's solely racism. And obviously this is the NFL. This is a league that has a history with, racism, especially with quarterbacks, black quarterbacks, guys like Doug Williams, guys like Colin Kaepernick, Doug Williams more so, but I mean, Doug Williams, Kaepernick, these are 2 capable guys. They were capable quarterbacks who seem to have been blacklisted from the NFL for whatever reason. Well, Kaepernick, we more so know why. And, even Kaepernick, he wasn't at his prime when the whole kneeling for the national anthem happened. But regardless, he should have been on a roster, even if as a backup. So anyways, I think the NFL, they are very sensitive when it comes to black quarterbacks who are perceived as gaudy, and this is a guy in Shedeur Sanders. He's walking around, he's got the iced out wrist, he's flashing his wrist at the crowd. There were reports that, he was speaking out, kind of blaming his teammates for things that have happened.
How many times did Raul get touched? You gotta understand what your team good at. So it's like, why would we keep running the ball if, okay, we out there and we get in a situation where it's a must get and we don't get it. If we're gonna go down, I'd rather go down swinging, honestly, because I know I could throw the best punch.
But before I go, I just want to get this off my chest. That shit was not my fault. Y'all are trash.
He's at the draft. He has like his custom made draft room with the words legendary. The NFL is very sensitive to stuff like this, especially when it's coming from a black quarterback. Not only for black quarterbacks, but especially when it's coming from a black quarterback. And I think Shedeur Sanders knows this. I think Deion Sanders knows this, but I think they just wanted to allow Shedeur Sanders to be himself. So I don't think that Shedeur Sanders is really, I think he's surprised that he didn't go in the first. I don't think he's surprised that he didn't go in the top 5. I think he's surprised that no team called his name in the first. And yeah, when you're doing stuff like this, you're calling yourself legendary. That's like your tagline. You're flashing the wrist at the crowd. teams are going to back away from that. Like, that kind of scares NFL ownership, NFL coaches to an extent. And there's a second facet to this that I think plays a part too. I think Deion Sanders has come out and said specifically, I am not allowing my son, Shedeur Sanders, to be drafted by specific teams.
You have said that if the right team does not pick him, that you will intervene.
It's a couple teams that I won't allow him to play for. I know where I kind of want them to go. And let's not forget Shallow, okay? But I know where I want them to go. So there's certain cities that ain't gonna happen.
Like, he's not going here, he's not going there. Like, he's just not gonna go to whatever team wants him. He's gonna go to specific teams. And Deion Sanders said the same thing for Travis Hunter, who was also one of his players at Colorado. Travis Hunter, he's not just going to any team, period. And I think that's why you saw Cleveland trade with Jacksonville here. I think the Cleveland Browns were one of those teams where Deion Sanders said, yeah, Travis Hunter is not playing here in Cleveland, and Shedeur Sanders is not playing here. They're just not going to play here. And I think that's why Cleveland traded back. They knew Travis Hunter is not going to play for us if we draft him. And I think that's why you see Cleveland, they go Mason Graham at number 5 and not Shedeur Sanders. I think that plays a part. And I think when you have that type of thing happening, I think that scares a team like the New York Giants. So when the Giants do draft a quarterback at 25, yeah, it's Jackson Dart. It's not Shedeur Sanders. It's not Shedeur Sanders who him and his father are saying, yeah, we're not playing for specific teams. Whereas Cam Ward came out and said, yo, I'll play for any team. Like, any team that passed on me, they're going to feel sorry. And it is what it is. You got Deion Sanders on behalf of Shedeur saying, yeah, we're not playing for specific teams, right? And I think Deion Sanders is perfectly within his rights to do that with his son. We saw Archie Manning do this with Eli Manning. People forget Eli Manning wasn't drafted by the Giants. Eli Manning was drafted by the San Diego Chargers.
First choice in the 2004 NFL Draft, the San Diego Chargers select Eli Manning, quarterback, Mississippi.
And Archie Manning basically said, yo, I'm not allowing my son to play for these crappy franchises who have no history of building quarterbacks. Like, my son is not playing for the Chargers.
Why don't you want to play for the Chargers?
We're not really giving details right now. We've made our decision, and that's what we're sticking to.
You guys can draft him, but he's not playing. Then the Chargers, they drafted him. I guess Archie Manning may have had a conversation. And then they ended up trading Eli Manning. Like, Eli Manning was drafted by the Chargers. Phillip Rivers was drafted by the Giants. And they ended up trading picks.
The San Diego Chargers and the New York Giants have exchanged their draft picks. Eli Manning and Phillip Rivers. San Diego Chargers and
so here's the trade. In the end, they trade quarterbacks, but also the Chargers get a third, a first, and a fifth.
Like, there's precedence for fathers stepping in, fathers who are former NFL players, so they understand the importance of a quarterback, a young quarterback getting drafted to a team that's at least building something with good coaches, steady coaching staff. They understand the importance. So there's precedence for Deion Sanders to do this. So I'm not calling him a bad guy for doing this, but I'm just saying when you compound that with, the gaudiness of Shedeur Sanders himself, and then just the fact that also Shedeur Sanders wasn't far and away the best quarterback in this draft. Pretty much all season, it was Cam Ward who was easily the front runner. So when you combine that with the fact that Shedeur is not even really the best, I don't think he was going to be the number 1 pick by any stretch of the imagination. And just combine that with the fact that a lot of teams that were picking, especially when you got in the middle of the draft, a lot of them just didn't have a huge need at quarterback. And I think that's why you see Shedeur Sanders slip to the second round. And a lot of people feel that Jackson Dart is a first round pick. I think if Jackson Dart is not drafted here by the Giants and Shedeur Sanders is drafted by the Giants instead, I think Jackson Dart falls to the second. There's only 2 quarterbacks going in the first round is what I'm saying. So it just happened to be that Shedeur Sanders was not the one. I think a team will, in the second round, trade up for Shedeur Sanders. I think it's probably going to be the Steelers. Steelers are in a good position to trade for him, or another team. But yeah, what do y'all think? Y'all think it's just racism? I do think race plays a part. A lot of the black quarterbacks who are in the NFL and who are really successful, they are super professional. Like Patrick Mahomes, Jayden Daniels, like Lamar Jackson. They're about their business. They aren't out here doing all the extras. And Shedeur Sanders is doing some of the extras. Now, credit to Shedeur Sanders. He doesn't have any off the field issues. So, you know, credit to him for that. But I think just the gaudiness of it all, and then like, especially when you're going to invest so much of your team and build a whole team around this person, the NFL does not want to see that from any quarterback. But especially when you're black, I think that does play a part. Like, yo, how mature is this guy? Now, whether that's right or wrong, I mean, that's up for us to decide. But I don't think it's purely racist. Oh, they're racist. That's why Shedeur Sanders didn't get drafted in the first round. I mean, look at the #1 overall pick. It's Cam Ward. He's black. He's from Miami. Who do y'all think is picking Shedeur? I think it still might be the Steelers. I think whatever team drafts him is going to end up trading up for him, though. So anyway, that's all I got for today.